Okay guys, haven't warmed up the truck yet, just something to note. Here are the 6 bolts I just removed. You could tell that 1, 2, 3, 4, those are the back 4, 1, 2, those are the front 2. If you notice, the end of these bolts are tapered, and they also have much bigger washers on them. So just make sure when you're putting everything back, you put it back in the right place. I don't know why it would really matter any different, but the nuts and the capture nuts might have a different thread pattern and pitch, so I never like to screw that stuff up. So just remember, these 2 with the big washers and the tapered end go to the up front part closest to the engine. These 4 stay in the back, and this is from the top side of the pan, which you can't see when you're under the truck. All right, so you can see here how it's got this lip and these channels. That's exactly why I wanted to pull the pan off before draining the fluid, because it would have just caught in here and it would have just sat. Obviously most of it probably would have drained out, but if it just sat, you know, that's moisture, more reason for something to rust. I'm in New England, so I don't need any more reasons. And also you can see up here, looks like just a bunch of road grime, maybe some oil, you know, built up oil from a slight leak. You know, Cummins turbo diesels, they have slight leaks around the pans and stuff, and it just, everyone knows about the puke bottle, which catches on the radiator fan, just gets thrown everywhere. So what I'm going to do before I put this on, I'm just going to clean it off. Not that it really matters, but you know, next time I go to work on it, maybe it'll be slightly cleaner. Alright, so next step, we're going to be starting up the truck. Okay, so now we're in the obviously the driver's seat. I like to make my videos for not necessarily someone who's has no brain, but someone who might not have ever worked on cars, someone who might not have ever, you know, used a diesel truck before. You know, say you're working on your friend's diesel truck and you're you know, low grade, you know, hobby mechanic, and you're not sure exactly what the steps are to start it. So really no different than a car. If you're really that worried about it, instructions are up on the visor here. It was a little cold last night and we had a little bit of rain, so I'm going to run the grid heater. So you'll see right here, I'm going to turn the key to the run position, and there's going to be a light right here that shows up that says wait to start. And we're going to do exactly that. Once that light goes out, you can start it up. So we'll turn the key. See, the wait to start button is right here. It's still illuminated. Still there. It's still there. And you hear that tick, it went away. Now it is safe to start the truck. So we'll start up the truck. Just check on your oil pressure. Looks good to me for at least idling cold. And then we're gonna wait for the coolant temp over here to come up a little bit before we start driving. So now's a good time, if you left all that stuff on the bed of your truck or whatever, move some stuff around. Make sure you remove that wheel chalk if you put it down before, and then we'll get going. Okay, now the truck's been warming up for about 10 minutes. Temperature gauge hasn't exactly gone up yet, but I know it's like right at the peak. And you can see the oil pressure came down a bit. It was closer to that middle tick, like the 3/4, if you will, if it were a fuel tank. And now it's come halfway between the 40 and that. So usually you want it to be at the 40, but the kind of driving I'm going to be doing, it's a 25-mile-per-hour road, and it's mostly all downhill for the start of it. So I'm not too worried about that. I always put overdrive off, and I usually drive in 2 when I'm not on the highway. Reason being, these trucks, their peak operating RPM is around 221, 2,100 RPMs. That's when you get the best gas mileage, peak torque, all that stuff. So you kind of want to actually keep the truck in that. When you're in the lower RPMs, it's not necessarily you're hurting the truck, but it's not performing at its peak. The truck might not last as long if you spend its whole life there, and also you're shifting a lot. That low end torque, it really does a number on the transmission. So you usually get better transmission life too when you're not shifting as much and staying in the peak area. So that's what I'm going to do. Also, I'm going to switch it in. There's no snow on the ground. It's, you know, like I said, it rained a little bit, but I'm going to shift it from 2H to 4H. So make sure you put your foot on the brake, tug it back, make sure it's in. Reason being, transfer case does exactly that. That's what you're shifting, is a transfer case. So if you have the front and the rear you know, I don't know how you want to call it, gears shifting or rotating, you're going to cool or heat up the fluid faster. You're going to get a more even heating, and you're going to get, you know, the shafts that haven't been turning in a while, they'll turn and get the crap off of that. Never, 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 ever, ever, never, never put it in 4 low unless you have absolute 100% certainty that all of your wheels at the same time will not catch traction. 4 low is for the mud. 4 low is for on like grass. 4 low is for snow, like deep snow. It is not for pavement. If you put 4 low on and you drive on the pavement, you will likely in minutes destroy your transfer case. All right, especially with having 37-inch mud tires, you will tear that thing apart. So 4H, not 4 low. 4 low is only meant for like when you believe only 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 your wheels will catch traction. If all 4 of them catch traction, they're basically just ripping the transfer case apart. So 4 high, put it down there, and then we'll start our drive. All right, as you can see here, 14 miles on the trip counter, and we'll put a couple miles on it to warm it up. Like I said earlier in the video, safety first. Got the wheel chock in place, now I'm ready to go under the truck. Alright guys, sorry about that. I just messed up on you. I thought I hit the record button. Apparently I was just turning it on. So essentially what I just did, I told you guys the truck was warmed up. I put the wheel chock under the wheel. And then I came down here, and first thing first, I removed the fill plug. Okay, like I said earlier, 10mm hex. Remove the fill first, that way in case you can't get the drain, in case you can't get it undone, you won't pull the drain out and you won't be SOL. After I took that out, I brought it over by my tools, kept it separate from the drain one because I don't want to mix them up. Then when it came back, removed the drain plug. Once you get it moving where it's finger tight, you know, pull the tool away. You're going to want to have 2 hands. So one hand unscrewing this, other hand was holding the drain pan up here. All right. Once the drain plug releases, pull the plug away. You're gonna have a big waterfall coming down. So you're gonna hold it up there a little bit. You can even put it down if you want. You're gonna have to put it farther back towards the back end of the car while it still has some pressure coming out. Then when it got closer, it started hitting this cross member here. And then kind of spread out. So I just put it right below the area, and you could basically just leave the pan there, and you know, you're just gonna let it drain for about 10 or so minutes. Like I said off camera, because I thought you guys were on, when you remove this, make sure you have the drain plug, drain pan still on the ground, even when you're removing the fill, because actually the fill plug is the fill line. So my truck is slightly uphill right now, with the engine being higher than the bed, so a little bit's going to come out, and you can see there's a little drip here. So make sure you have the pan down there, because fluids will come out once you have that come out. And then when you remove the drain plug and you're letting it dry, just bring it over to your tools where you have your paper towel and stuff, and just get a good clean on it. Make sure the threads aren't stripped in any way. Make sure the condition's good. And I was mentioning, when you remove the drain plug and the fill plug, if they're super tight, make sure you have the right bit. Like I said, I'm using a 10mm. It felt right. I didn't have too much wiggle in there, but I'm not sure if it's actually a metric size. But mine came out relatively good, so I didn't have to worry about it. But if you're putting a lot of pressure and you actually need a breaker bar to get them out, make sure you have the right size, because if you end up stripping this head, you are going to be in for no fun, and you're going to have to go to the dealer, or if you can weld yourself, then you can, good for you. I can't, so you're going to have to deal with all that crap. So my dogs are coming to visit me, so hopefully they don't step in the pan. But yeah, so I'm going to continue to let it drain, and I'll be back.